it is so lovely to see you. I see you out in the world and I see all your amazing posts and all the amazing things going on in your world. So it's such a pleasure to be able to chat with you today.
It's lovely to share space and time with you as well. I love your energy. It's amazing. You are stunning. Yes, I'm so here for it.
We reflect, right? You see what you see and I see what you see. So it's all awesome. Where are you located? I couldn't figure out whether you're in New Zealand or the UK.
Yeah, I'm in New Zealand. We've been traveling we just came home recently, but yes, from New Zealand, currently in New Zealand, and here until it feels right to not be here anymore.
And please say your name because it is so beautiful. And I feel like if I say it, I don't want to mess it up and say it wrong. So please say your beautiful name for me.
Of course. So this shouldn't be that hard. I was going to ask you anyway. It's fine. Whereabouts in America are you from? Are you from America?
I'm not American. I'm actually, right now I live in Canada. I live in Toronto, just outside Toronto, Canada. But I'm actually originally from Zimbabwe.
Ah, right. Okay. I struggle to decipher between American and Canadian accents, probably similar to New Zealand and Australia. Everyone's like, it sounds twangy and whatever. So in New Zealand, we say Angharad. But I have so many vowels, often Canadian or America is more like Angharad, kind of, maybe, or the proper Welsh pronunciation, because I'm actually, my family is Welsh, is Angharad, you roll the R, but any iteration is great.
Let me give it a go. Angharad.
Yes, that's beautiful, yes.
And what does it mean? Because it just sounds so like... It sounds like, they're names that are just have greatness attached to them. What does it mean?
It means much loved and full of love. So my mum picked that name because she's Welsh, picked that name for her first daughter when she was like 13 or 14 because of the meaning. So yeah, it's very special.
A beautiful name to go through life with.
Yeah.
What a beautiful name to go through life with. And how would you introduce yourself? What would you say you are?
Business-wise or human-wise?
However, if I just said, what do you do? Who are you? What would you say?
Multifaceted. I do a lot of things, but at the core of it, it's about a freedom, to be honest, a freedom activator or influencer or fun, and just living feminine wealth, a lot of things come into it. But yeah, sometimes I change my title all the time because, as you know, words can only, it's a smidge of, to capture our essence, but, sometimes the Galactic Money Mentor, sometimes it's freedom influencer, sometimes it's duality priestess, lots of things.
I love that, duality priestess. What did duality priestess want to be when she was a kid?
Happy.
Literally, that was the ambition. I just want to be happy.
Yeah. I had a lot. Have you ever watched the movie Matilda?
No.
Oh, okay. So
apparently that is now on my list for this weekend to watch.
Yeah, I had a lot of similarities, and I grew up in a very emotionally and physically abusive family, household. So I very much resonated with her, and she has a superpower that she can move things with her eyes. And I very much felt like there was something really special in me, but I wasn't in the right situation. And she ends up being adopted by her teacher, Miss Honey, who's really lovely, and they create a beautiful family life. And I watched it recently with my kids, and I bawled my eyes out, realizing that I actually used to watch that, and it's what I always desired. And I actually have that. It was just interesting to go back and watch something that I watched so many times as a child, So, yeah.
And how did you? So what was it about becoming, because you're, as you said, you're multifaceted. And that was one of the things that really came across for me when I was researching and getting ready for this was, my gosh, how do I pin her down to just one thing? Because you seem to have done so many things. What are some of the things that you have done on your journey to where you are now?
It does feel like I've lived a lot of lifetimes in my 31 years. feels like every decade is a whole complete lifetime, like a whole complete book. So, a lot. I started my entrepreneurial. I'm a Capricorn, and that's my star sign, my rising, I have so much Capricorn. I've always been a very driven, very entrepreneurial. I was raised by an entrepreneurial parents, right? Business owners, and they were farmers, so they weren't like really wealthy or anything, but still. And I started my first business at 21. So, there's been quite a few iterations of myself. I had 3 brick and mortar businesses with my partner. So my husband had been with him for 15 years. And, we met 15 years ago. And, so there's been a huge evolution through working and through expression and through businesses and then through motherhood from a very young age. I just feel like I fitted so much in such a short amount of time. So it's the reason why I feel like it's so hard to pin me down. But also I think that's the beautiful thing is that we don't, we get to shapeshift, we get to grow and evolve and change and, put different clothes on every day, wear a different type of makeup, have a completely change our hair color. Do you know what I mean? Like we get to rebirth and change. And it's the same. It feels like the same throughout my whole journey is the radical permission. Like that has always been freedom to me to express myself how I want to be able to do different things in my life and really enjoy. So that's kind of been the focus.
I love what you just said there in terms of, it's one of the questions that literally now makes me cringe when I hear people ask kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like there's this one thing and you're 5 years old, you better know what that is. And it's, my gosh, like you said, you can shapeshift and try different things. And what was it that for you attracted you at 21 to your very first business? What was your very first business?
So my very first business was we bought a tractor and essentially implements. So we were agricultural contractors. So we used to work for farmers. Mm-hmm. So that was my very first business. I had been an office manager. I'd worked my way up the ranks in the office world through from office junior to office manager. And I, ran companies that had multiple, 5 companies within them, in the office management space. So I knew a lot about accounting, a lot about numbers, a lot about employees and wages and stuff. So I was very passionate about it. And when my partner wanted to go out on his own and do this stuff, because he was an employee before that, a mechanic, and he grew up on a farm and had those skills. For me, it was like, this is freedom. We get to be self-employed. We get to have tax benefits. We get to, do a whole lot of things. And I already understood that from an accounting perspective. So for me, it was like a gateway to beginning to learn how to be free in regards to time and money and our routines. It was still like running a business is still a lot of work. There's still a lot of things you do, but it was a very different set of freedom in regards to, being an employee, right? Like it's very different. So that was like the gateway for me. I knew I was a creator. I wanted to create. So that was like the very first wedge that turned out to be a whole big world. But that was the very first.
At 21, that was the dream. And what was the dream at 21? And has that dream changed? So you wanted freedom, but what did you think that freedom looked like?
Travel and money. Mm-hmm. That's what I thought that was at the time. It's not a hell of a lot different now, to be honest. My view on money has changed a lot over the last 10 years in regards to, I think we project, certainly from my experience, I projected a lot of my problems onto money, thinking that, if I had it, I would be fixed. I don't think it's quite that clear cut. There's a lot more that, certainly in the spiritual realms and the manifesting realms and in the energetic realms, probably more I learned around money. It's just a flow of energy, right? That's my personal belief and my experience of it. So it's not, having energy doesn't actually make you free. You actually have to choose to be free, right? So money, there's plenty of wealthy people out there who have billions of dollars and still feel just as much scarcity as I did when I had $14 in my bank account, So it doesn't actually fix problems, but that's what I was going for. I also just wanted to know that I could create something from the ground up, like the creator in me, like the something from my bare hands, like I'd really wanted to do that, as well as providing really good jobs for people. So my partner and I had been in employee situations where we got treated like garbage. It was horrible and malicious and abusive, like horrible stuff happens in workplaces. And so I always wanted to have people on my team that loved what they did, that got compensated hugely for what they did, that wasn't just about paying them the least amount you could and having such huge expectations for them. So I just I didn't have this language back then, but I had a big desire to create a whole different paradigm within a workforce and within the business owners' like mission and their values and how they give back and how they support others. And yeah, so really it's the creator. Like I wanted to create something of my own.
And so now your life looks very different. You're making very good money, shall we say. And I love what you just said, but I think that sometimes, when people, because I had this experience where I thought I grew up poor and I thought if I could just have money, then like all my problems would magically disappear. What's been the journey, or how did you get to the place where you are now? Because you said something really profound right there. You said money is just energy. So how did you get to that realization from the girl who once had only $14 in her bank account?
Mm-hmm. I studied a lot and was under mentorship from a lot of people. And that's not necessarily, that's also like podcasts and stuff, not just, working one-on-one with a mentor or buying something from them. I was very fascinated. I was very triggered. In fact, I wasn't fascinated. I was triggered by the very first time I heard someone say like money is energy. I was like, you're bonkers. What's wrong with you? Money, it's a piece of paper that I want. It's nothing to do with energy. Like this is going to fix all my problems. Energy doesn't fix problems. There's nothing, so I was very triggered by it. But at the same time, I also deep down knew, not so much consciously at the time, but deep down knew that a trigger was just an invitation to see why I was so emotionally charged about that. And so, on the journey, I was mentored by a whole lot of people who don't even know my name, have no idea, from podcasts and just being around people. And I began to slowly see how, we've idolized money, we've projected issues onto money, we've thought that it would fix relationships and families and so many things. And really what I did was look at all the people that have a whole lot of money but don't have those things. And so slowly, piece by piece by piece, I began dismantling the pedestal that I had money on in order for me to actually be able to attain it. Because when we have something on a pedestal, we're saying that can't be for us because we can't reach it, right? And so I slowly began to dismantle the pedestal in order for me to realize that, well, I actually get to play universally with this energy and this frequency of money and get to mold it and shape and understand it. And as with all relationships, the least toxic it becomes, the more time you want to spend together. So that's kind of how I experienced my relationship with money, slowly, piece by piece, through healing and different things that, we're best buddies now and we get to play together. And it's not a toxic relationship where I'm like, go away, come back, go away, like manipulative. And, so it was the first time someone told me to personify money, once again, triggered the crap out of me, but really blew my brain and really got me to see how really manipulative and toxic I had always been towards this energy.
That is so profound in terms of, I love what you just said right there about personifying money, that, the way we treat money. If it was a person, why would money want to be in a relationship with us in the way that we treat it? What's the thing that you see most? Because now you're a mentor, just like you were mentored at one point, you're a mentor. What's the biggest struggles, or what's the thing that you see most people struggling with that you are mentored to?
So recently, what I've noticed with my clients who I work very closely with, who are making a lot of money, I honestly see them struggle to actually use money the way they want to, whether that's huge donations, whether that's buying a bag, whether that's flying somewhere, whether that's upgrading to business class, whether that's giving some money to a family member, like they seem to still, I think that the same like problems or issues, there's always another edge, with every relationship, and specifically with money, there's always more to give, of course. I love that. But there's always more to experience with money. So regardless of where you're at, I think it's certainly what I've seen within myself and with the people that I've worked with, it's kind of the same issue or the same problem, just wrapped in a different wrapping paper, like it's still the same present of, hey, there's some we still need to unpack here around how we deal with it. It just presents slightly differently. And I think also, but then the difference is it's not really an urgent thing. So when we're in a situation where we don't have money, it's a very urgent, there's a lot of emotional charge, and it's a very urgent thing because it's like life or death. Can I pay my power bill, right? Can I buy food? Versus, where I am or where my close clients are, it's more around the liberation piece. It's like, but they still choose to do those things because it's modeling so much. And it's, as we move through these things, it's because it's the same thing wrapped up in different wrapping paper. It actually still, it's like it oscillates throughout space and time anyway, because it's really just the same thing, if that makes sense.
It makes absolute sense. It makes absolute sense. Something as well that I'm sure you're dealing with in terms of the women that you mentor, especially women who are making a lot of money, is this conversation around, or women talking about the fact that they make money. For a long time, most of us were brought up with you don't talk about money, don't tell people about all the things. And yet now it seems to be, and I know tell me about your relationship right now in terms of, do you share the numbers? Do you not share the numbers? And why do you or why don't you share the numbers?
Yeah, great idea. So great question. When I was open to the world of people sharing about how much money they make online, I was like, firstly, holy bajingas, you can make that much money online. What total mind, like not even mind blowing, just completely astral projected out of here. Like I have no idea how that's even possible. My human was like in utter awe. So that was the very first response. But then the second response was, of course, well, when I got a pay rise 6 months ago, I didn't even tell my family because then I'd feel bad for them that they didn't get a pay rise, So eventually, at the beginning, I didn't really share a heck of a lot around how much money I made until I hit my big, crazy vision board dream, which I put on my vision board, of $333,000 in a year. That's more than anyone I know has ever made ever, in a year. That's certainly much more than any of our family members, even our richest family uncle, like anyone. And when I hit that, what I realized was the mentors that I had been working with did share about money. And so it was a big thing for me that I wanted the permission. It broke my paradigm as to what I can and can't have and what I can and can't achieve and what I can and can't hold. So then I began to share about money. So that went on for 2 years, probably roughly 2 years. And then at the beginning of this year, my guides sat me down and they were like, what if you did something even crazy again? And this time you didn't share about it. And I was like, doesn't that just reverse everything that we've just been doing? Like, what's the point? But I don't know. It's felt more, and that's right for right now. So this year I haven't shared about exactly how much I've made for the year, whereas last month it was like, the first 6-figure month and consecutive, and then the multiple 6 figures and the consecutive, and the 1 million and the 2 million, sharing about that, right? But this year I haven't shared any figures because firstly, it just felt like, why not break the rules? Why not break the rules and create something different? But secondly, I really want this. I think that there's no point in me making, or in anyone making a whole lot of money if other people don't get it as well. And so, or other people don't get to do it on their journey as well. So for me, I've been more highlighting my clients this year. I probably need to make more of an effort to actually consciously do that and celebrating them. Not that we both can't shine at the same time. That's not what I'm saying. But it was just something from my guides, and I'm still piecing, I only have half of the information as to why that needs to happen this year. I feel like at the end of the year, I'll know a lot more because I'm still like a living transmission of this. But I just, money is amazing. It's absolutely the biggest blessing. It's absolutely incredible, but it's not all I am. And I didn't want to be defined by how much money I make. So that was really the heart of it.
Tell me about your relationship with your guides. Like, how did you figure out who your guides were? How did that happen for you?
Well, I have had a spiritual connection since birth. I have been that person who was born very spiritually activated and was playing with the fae and the pixies and the fairies, from some of my earliest memories in the garden. And the way I described it, because my father was my spiritual guide, he was very spiritually activated as well. I remember when I was about 4 or 5 years old, describing to him, because it was very visual and audio, especially, that was my primary. I remember describing to him that, like, it feels like there's this world that everyone sees, and stacked on top of this world is a whole other world that most people don't see. That's kind of how I experienced, especially with the pixies and the fairies and elementals and spending a lot of time outside, right? So that's how I described it, as well as people and, past loved ones and all the things. So I've, most people would, I guess, call that psychic, with the typical label stuff from a very young age. And then I turned to religion in my teenage years because I couldn't switch it off. And it was so intense. I had so many people coming to me all the time wanting to share things and say things. And it was just like overwhelming. I lost my father when I was 7 years old as well. And my mother wasn't spiritually tuned in, or, so I didn't have anyone to really guide me. So I turned to religion, to Christianity, and when in my teenage years to help get a filter. That saved my sanity. It was amazing and the hugest blessing. That served me for about 10 years. And then I began to decondition and left the church sort of around my mid-20s because of my personal choice, and saw a lot of dogma and a lot of things that didn't serve me from that season moving forward. So then I began to leave and have learned a lot more about, I guess, extraterrestrial guides that I had been connecting with my whole life, but I didn't really know. And I think I experience things, well, the way I experience it sounds different to other people, how they describe it, but it feels very natural to me because I was born like this, so it feels like an extension of me, a part of me, and I have a beautiful filter system now, which is what I had always needed when I was a child, I guess. Mm-hmm.
Does it ever feel scary to you?
Not now. It did in my childhood years. Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Rather in my teenage years. I was very haunted, I would say, to be honest. But it doesn't anymore now. Not at all. No.
Do you feel like most people have guides? They're just not, I guess, I don't know, tuned to them? Is that the right word?
I believe that something one person can have, we all have. So whether that's money, whether that's spiritual, I believe that we're spiritual beings having a human experience. So absolutely, we all have the ability to tap in. I think that most of the things that stop it from happening or from us experiencing it is comparison, honestly. We hear someone else talk about a meditation or an astral projection or something a guide said to them. It just sounds so intense. But in reality, like for me, although I know those things happen, when I experience it, it feels so much less profound than that. It feels so like, oh yeah, and it can be easy to doubt it, or it's just like, yeah, of course that just happened, but it just feels very natural. So I think there's a lot of different scales as to, it's just like all of us when we go to the beach, like some people will notice the sound, like it's so loud, and some people would notice the smell, and some people would be like, oh my gosh, the sunset and the sand on my toes. We would all different notice and pick up on different things. And the way we would just, like those typical painting things where you'll have a painting night and everyone's painting of the same picture looks entirely different, So I think it's very normal for us to be so diverse. But we then hear someone saying, I connected with the Galactic Federation. It sounded like this. And we're like, oh, mine's not like that. So we discredit ourselves. It's comparison that kills a lot of it, I think.
I love that. Yeah. I love what you just said because that's so true. And it is with everything, right? Whether, like you said, even with the money and whatever, we're always like looking at what is everybody else. And then that becomes what holds us back because, oh, mine isn't as good or mine isn't as much as that. With your kids, do you feel like your kids have the same gifting?
So my son started speaking about things he saw at a very young age. So like when he was 2 and he first started, he'd be like, look, he'd point up in the corner of his room. And because I can see, I literally could just verify that, oh yeah, there's a little thing up there, this little pixie or an angel or a physical representation of my father or something, So that was really cool because that's what I loved in my father because he was that for me. So that was so super special. He also, so he's 8 years old now. My daughter's 6. He also has like a lot of wisdom, a lot of like, just like, oh yeah, when we went to Stonehenge, for instance, he just spat out, we hadn't even walked in yet in the car, he was just spat out this paragraph about how they were built. And I was like, what? And he just like so much certainty. And I was like, what the? And it was just the most beautiful, so he's a lot of like, just knowledge, like he just channels on knowledge. Our daughter, he's also a healer. Our daughter is very recently, her healing gifts have come online, or I have noticed, maybe it was more me, phenomenal. So my dad and me we were healers. So I've always had the healing gift. He did as well. And so, they do, but hers is very different and it's very, yeah. So yeah, they definitely, and she does little symbols and stuff. So yeah, they definitely have gifts and it sounds very extra, but I mean, a lot of people would have kids like this and not even think it's necessarily a spiritual thing. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, but I definitely see it in them for sure.
That's an incredible gift for them that they have a mother who, a lot of the time with kids, you're like, oh, you're just imagining things. Oh, that's not real. And so then, like you said, we teach the kids to doubt themselves, to doubt their intuition, to suppress whatever it is. And yet that's one of the things, like whenever I look at kids and I feel like they're so pure. They're so pure. They haven't had all the conditioning and all the beliefs imprinted on them yet. And so what an incredible gift for them to have you and for you to, to see that.
Thank you.
That is an incredible gift.
Yeah.
And so tell me about your business, because I know your business has evolved, and what are some of the things that you're excited about in your business right now?
For me personally, it's the full expression, like the flying my freak flag, and then next minute be teaching someone a strategy about like something, like it's the full expression, the full all of me. That's one of the things that I subconsciously, based on my conditioning, I was made very small, similar to how you're describing around the spiritual beliefs in a lot of different areas of my life. So it took me a lot of years of taking up more and more and more space. So, I'm into do you know about human design?
I know a little bit. I know enough to had a reading, and so I know what my human design is, but I'm not an expert. No.
Cool. So I'm a manifestor in human design. I love human design. Okay.
But I'm okay, this is the stuff where I don't know. I'm a manifestor and I'm a 2-4. So
okay. Do you know your authority?
I should. It's on my, I can't remember.
So I'm also a 2-4 manifestor, by the way. So that's 2-4 is to do with our astrology and to do with like our personality, our subconscious and conscious personality. So essentially, as a 2-4, we're both introverts and extroverts all at once. A walking, talking conundrum. It's the weirdest experience ever. But so as a manifestor, because we're only 7% of the population, I wasn't understood. Like a lot of people just, my energy's a lot. It triggers a lot of people. It's just, not the wrong people, but the people that aren't ready for it or whatever. And so a lot of my life has been about like taking that layer off, taking the onion off so I can just expand and fully be who I am. So within my business, to be able to be a walking, talking conundrum in all areas of my life, be full scale, staying up till 3 a.m. and then sleeping for 2 days. And, or that's pretty extreme, doesn't happen all the time. But, to be able to be talking about money energetics and then next minute talking with clients or a call around Instagram strategies or, relationships or healing or, radical self-leadership and then not taking shit from someone and having boundaries, just full expression for me is that it's the most beautiful thing for me, honestly, is to have like my vocation as also my career, as also my job. It's incredible. The biggest blessing ever of my whole entire life. Even if I made no money, I would still be doing this because of how much it gives me. And that is the reason why I started it and why I was able to continue doing it while I wasn't even making money, is because this is for me first and foremost. And the fact that it gets to impact thousands of people every single day is phenomenal, but it's a bonus, right? Because this is about me and my vocation and my job and my career first. And therefore it's sustainable because of how expressive I'm able to be within my business.
So you said right there something that you should be so incredibly proud of, the fact that you've been able to influence, to impact so many. So, and in big ways to really help women step into their big dreams, their big visions. Of everything that you've done so far, and I know you're so young and you still have so much life ahead of you, of all the things that you've done so far, what are you most proud of?
My family transformation, like my kids and my partner. I didn't know any better when I first had kids. So I was 23 when I had my first child. I had depression for 20 years, not 20 years at that point, but still like since 11 years old. So over a decade, I'd had depression, anxiety, suicide. Like I had a lot. And so when I first became a parent, and even when I first met my partner, it was a very wounded, very traumatic, very messy version of myself. And so I had a lot of shame as to how I presented and how I treated people around me, because I was just spitting out my own trauma and coping the way I was taught, which was from the world around me and my family. So over the past, 8 or so years, being able to see within me and heal the parts of myself has drastically changed how I show up for my family and how we converse and what we get to do and how we get to experience life and how we communicate and how we heal one another. Healed people heal people, bullied people bully people, and so that's been the most incredible thing, is to now see, my children flourishing, my relationship flourishing, us all individually flourishing, and as a unit. It's my greatest life's work. I don't, once again, even if I didn't, not that really has anything to do with my business, but my business has been part of that journey. And so even if there wasn't money involved, that would still be my life's greatest work, is first my expression, and then secondly, how that impacts my really close sphere. And that is the reason why I believe it has impacted so many people outside that sphere, because of that nucleus of how powerful that transformation is and how it's happened and transformed and precipitated in my life and presented in my life. It's just the impact, it's just like the shock wave, going out and out and out.
What's your big dream now?
I want to see a lot more people liberated from a lot of things. I want to see a lot more healing across the planet. And in particular, very recently, I've had a big heart for the divine feminine to have her place, to be able to come back and be respected within this world, which I believe happens from us doing that first, respected ourselves, and then the outside world will begin to reflect it. There's obviously, it's more complex than just that, but that is within our control. And that's kind of it. That's what I have right now, and it will change and grow and evolve. But, I guess since I was 10 wanted to make a whole lot of money and be free. I've got that. I'm secure in that. If it all disappeared tomorrow, I just rebuild it again in a different way. If the internet disappeared, or whatever, I know I'm fully capable of that. And so it's more just about, continued impact and freedom and healing for my nucleus, of course, is always more within my nucleus, and then that resounding outwards and outwards.
You said it's about respecting yourself. What does that look like for you? What does respecting yourself look like? And what does connecting to your divine feminine look like?
Great question. So, respecting myself is something that has probably been the hardest thing for me to do, to be quite honest. Out of everything, healing sexual trauma, healing depression, healing all of this stuff, that has actually been the hardest thing, or the longest standing journey, I guess, always on a journey of evolution. And this was because my current perception is the paradigm I grew up in, the mother that I had, the situation that I was in with losing my father at so young, I wasn't modeled self-respect. I wasn't modeled respect for anyone else even. It's been not only building something from the ground up, but actually undoing the whole building, the whole skyscraper that was on that platform where the self-respect needed to be. So a lot of dismantling, a lot of construction all at once. But ultimately, my partner and I speak about this a lot because his childhood and conditioning was very different to mine, but they had the same theme of no self-respect. So it's something that we've seen merge in our relationship a lot, which has been really, really, really triggering once again. It's a good thing as a mirror, but that has been one of the hardest things for us to walk through, to be honest, because we always like, why don't you respect me more? Why don't you treat this what we used to do? Why don't you treat me better? Why don't you buy me a gift? Or why don't you say nice things to me? Or I was sitting in the garage because we used to be farming. I was sitting in the garage. I had at least one child, and we kept on having, it was one of those arguments that we'd had repetitively, when you just have the same argument, slightly different situation, always the same things get said. And I was sitting in the garage. I just come back in, we both come back in from the farm. I was in my wet weather year. I was wet. It was winter. It was horrible. And I said to him, we're having an argument. And I said to him, why don't you say nice things to me anymore? Because he used to when we're dating. And my guide screamed at me and they said, Angharad, that's your job. I nearly fell over. I wasn't really spiritual. I was Christian back then, so I wasn't really connected with a side of me as much. And when they said that to me, I was so triggered that I didn't even know what to do with that. I grabbed it and chucked it into the back of my head and threw it back, where my mother-in-law comments are, file back in the filing thing, but I'm never going to look at that again. It's most ludicrous. How would I even begin to do that? How would I, why? That's not, it was the most triggering and crazy thing, but that's the thing. My mother used to say to me, respect is earned. Respect is earned. I don't believe respect is earned. Respect is modeled. So if we want somebody else to respect us, we first have to model self-respect. We have to show, with our kids, we've never once told anything. There's been no words about them respecting our boundaries or them respecting what we say or them respecting themselves or respecting their clothes or respecting their bikes or respecting their elders. Nothing. Never spoken about it. It was spoken about every day in my household. But they respect everything, but it's because we first respect them and their things and their boundaries and their emotions, and they then therefore can reflect it back to us because we've modeled it. So many things on this planet can't be taught through words. They have to be taught through modeling it. So that's been the biggest thing, and I believe that's the same for feminine energy. That's my current understanding and mission. Is me first.
I am literally like having a hallelujah, yes, yes, yes moment. Words don't teach, right? And our kids, we've heard this a million times, right? That our kids don't do what we say they should do. They do what they see us do. And then we wonder why. And you know what? Something I recently found out, which was mind blowing to me, was when you do a Google search, if you open up the Google search bar and you type in, how do I learn to? For most people, and I've tried this with a lot of people, what comes up is, how do I learn to love myself? Because we don't, if you're talking about, it's kind of the same thing, like respect, self-love, self-compassion, all of that. We don't know how to do it. Like, we're literally turning to Google because we've never seen it modeled. We didn't grow up seeing our mothers and our grandmothers love themselves, respect themselves, all of those things. But people say the words, and we think, like nowadays, we think, oh, self-love, self-respect is about going to the spa and getting a manicure.
Yeah.
No, it's so much more than that. My goodness. Well, that was a mic drop moment. I don't know where to go from there. You are such a light. You truly are just so, like, I was just drawn to you when I came across you on social media. And what you just said in our conversation is exactly how I felt. Like, you're so many things, but in a beautiful way, not in a like all over the map, but just in the energy that I feel from you is you can't be contained. Like, you're a free spirit. And I really get that. I'd love for you to finish this sentence for me. I am
worthy.
You are such
It was the hardest thing for me to get behind. I am worthy, but I really feel it now. And I believe that all of us need to, that is the backbone of everything in our lives. We have had so much conditioning and so much trauma around how we are not worthy of because we didn't get the mark at school, because we don't have the cool friends, because we don't have the cool car, because we don't have, the house or the bike or the whatever, the money, like just so much of our worthiness has been stripped from us. The reality is we were born worthy exactly how we are, not changing a single thing. You are worthy, especially the next sentence that I add on is, and I feel so compelled, is I am worthy of my desires. Exactly how you were born, exactly how you are now, you are worthy of your desires.
You are incredible. We could talk forever and ever. I want to respect the rest of you. It's morning for you, right? Is it early morning for you?
It's early afternoon.
Oh, it's okay. All right. I was going to say, I'm sure you still have a rest of a day to get to. Where can people find you? Where can people connect to you? What can we share with people about something that you're passionate about right now?
Yeah. So Instagram has been my primary place to hang out, which is at Angharad Sage, which I'm sure you can have in the notes. But the thing that's really, really exciting to me right now, and that's the biggest service that I have right now, like to serve people, is I have a Telegram channel. Every single day I drop something in there. It's a channeling from myself and all my guides, and they're amazing. They're absolutely incredible. It's totally free. Like, it's just the most phenomenal. It feels like the most fun, crazy, epic way to give back to people, to give to the world, to serve to the world. So there is, maybe I can give you the link for that and you can put it in the show notes. But
please give me the link, because I literally was like, what is that Telegram channel? Because I'm signing up to it. So I will make sure we link to that. We will connect people, because you truly are a light and you are a beacon. I love what you said about us being worthy. And I love that you are blazing a trail, because sometimes it's one thing, as you said, as we talked about, it's one thing to hear the words. It's another thing to see it modeled for us. And you are doing such a beautiful job in this world of modeling possibility. So thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for making time to have this conversation with me today. And I'm so grateful to you.
Thank you for having me. And thank you for everyone listening. It's been a pleasure to share space and time with you.